How's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon Go video. So, Niantic made a surprise announcement that they would be debuting a brand new raid tier into the game. These extremely difficult raids are called Elite Raids, but unfortunately, there are a ton of flaws within its design. This, of course, led to a lot of players being very frustrated with this feature, and I think their gripes are well justified. I'm going to be talking about all of this in today's video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alright, let's talk about Elite Raids. So at the time that I'm recording this video, Elite Raids are beginning to hatch. I will likely go out and try them out for myself, so most of the opinions that I share in this video might change. I just want to throw that out there because I know some people will say that I am unfairly negative towards Niantic, and I just want to be as transparent as possible. However, most of my opinions, and the opinions of others within this community, are being shaped by what's being reported in parts of the world who have already had their Elite Raids. As can be predicted by almost anyone who has played Pokemon Go for a long time, the feature was released with a lot of problems and a lot of issues that Niantic failed to iron out before releasing it. This has led to a lot of those players in those regions to feel extremely frustrated, as Elite Raids had a lot of potential, but it ended up being disappointing for a number of reasons. At the very least, the raid boss that they chose for the first ever Elite Raid was actually pretty hype. Unbound Hoopa was a special research exclusive, and it was nice to be able to get a chance at a better one. Also, I do like that for players who did not participate in GoFest last year, they were able to pick up Hoopa. I did think they at least nailed the raid boss, because imagine if this raid was something boring or something we've had multiple times already. But yeah, in spite of this, a lot of players have been voicing their frustrations around this feature since it went live, and I do think we need to talk about them. Also, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. I do actually think Elite Raids are an amazing concept, it's just that Niantic needs to work out a few flaws. If they can polish it up, I do think Elite Raids could be amazing content for Pokemon Go. I want to be as constructive as possible and point out where players are having complaints with this system. Hopefully Niantic can respond and correct these issues so that we can have a great experience with this new kind of raid. The first major complaint around Elite Raids that I've seen is just how much these raid eggs took over several gyms after Community Day. I feel like this was a major oversight, but Niantic seemed to have forgotten that Litwick Community Day was happening, and the possibility to extend Community Day hours through completing Lampent raids was hindered. Of course, Niantic realized this after the fact, and they made sure that later regions were still able to spawn and complete Lampent raids in order to get an extended Community Day. However, once again, our friends over in New Zealand and Australia had to reluctantly be guinea pigs. It's incredibly frustrating and a really bad look whenever Niantic makes these kinds of mistakes. The other major complaint that I've seen make the rounds is that Elite Raids are very unfriendly for rural players. This is due to the fact that they have a much higher difficulty compared to most other raids, and they are local only, meaning you are not able to remote into them. I think the implication behind these design choices is that Elite Raids were meant to be completed by communities rather than individually. Niantic gives you about 24 hours before the boss appears, and they seem to assume a community will communicate with each other to prepare for it. The problem with this is that not every community has a means of communicating with each other. Sure, there are Discord groups and Facebook groups that players can use to join raids with each other, but these only seem to apply to larger communities. People in rural areas and low population areas tend to not have large enough communities for these sort of social media groups. Thus, I do think that this is a feature that is very exclusionary to small communities, and I think Niantic needs to come up with the right solution that will allow rural players to be able to participate. I think the timing of the release of this feature was too soon. This would have been a great way for them to advertise Niantic Campfire, which is an app that they've been developing for Pokemon Go players to be able to interact with each other. But because Campfire hasn't rolled out globally, a lot of players were not able to utilize it to set up these Elite Raids. One final note regarding Elite Raids, Niantic actually mentioned that there would be some surprise bonuses for completing them that players can enjoy. Well, this bonus ended up being kind of disappointing. When you and your group complete an Elite Raid, you are able to find rare spawns near that raid for a very short duration. Some of these wild spawns include the Kanto legendary birds, Galarian Mr. Mime, and Mienfoo. In a vacuum, this seemed like a really neat idea. For players who go out and do these elite raids, there's some bonus content directly afterwards, but it seems like Niantic didn't execute this design flawlessly. For one, the Kanto legendary birds have the same catch rate and flee rate of their Galarian counterparts, as in, they have a very low catch rate that is much lower than when they are in raids, and they have a really high flee rate. As for the other rare spawns you can encounter, they don't seem to be that impactful, other than maybe Mienfoo. Since that Pokemon is typically only available through PvP rewards, this is a way for you to pick up a Mienfoo with PvP IVs, but aside from that, nothing is worth batting an eye. So yeah, overall, elite raids were a really cool idea, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. The Pokemon Go community seems to think this was a bit of a swing and a miss, but I still think there is a lot of potential. Honestly, if elite raids ever lived up to the hype, it would be one of the best ways to build communities and for the raiding scene to be much more like how it used to be. Hopefully, Niantic could polish this up because it could be a really cool part of this game moving forward. Hey, Jinsula from the future here. So I went out and tried these elite raids, and I have to say, I feel somewhat the same with them. The footage that you are seeing during this video is from that elite raid, and yeah, you can see that it was quite an experience. I also do think it was refreshing to have some mechanics that encourage community gameplay, because it really felt like EX raids all over again, at least the positive aspects of it. But a lot of the things players were complaining about, I still kind of felt it. I really think this wouldn't have worked if I was not part of a Discord group. A lot of the players that showed up to that raid were in that Discord group, and we discussed which gym and at what time we would be raiding it. If it weren't for that, I don't think we would have had the attendance. So yeah, Niantic, if you want this feature to be a positive aspect of Pokemon Go, I really think you should roll out Campfire globally before you trying this again. Community communication seems to be the factor that makes elite raids actually doable and fun, so maybe this will be seen positively sometime in the future once Campfire is more widely used, but until then, I really think joining a Discord or a Facebook group is the key. You really have to treat elite raids like you did EX raids in the past. You can't just show up and expect a big group. So yeah, with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts regarding elite raids down below. Did you participate in them? What would you like to see Niantic do to improve it? Let me know down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.